guys, I am Pixel Dan, and today we are going to be taking a look at the Masters of the Universe Origins Snake Mountain playset. That's right, Snake Mountain is finally here for the Origins line. It was revealed about this time last year, and it's something I've been really excited for ever since. Really happy to finally have this, so let's dive right in and take a look at it. But we got to start with the amazing box that it comes inside of, because once again, the artwork is absolutely amazing for this toy line. This box art is a masterpiece. Like, seriously, this stuff needs to be released as prints or an art book. Like, I know we're getting an art book, but I really hope stuff like this is included in it. This Snake Mountain box art, phenomenal. I love seeing the characters all over the box. We've even got some of our brand new skeleton warriors making an appearance on here again. I also love some of the other little nods on here. I see some of those other snake men that we don't have yet, like Terror down there. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come in figure form. Really cool stuff. I just absolutely love this packaging. And who's this guy on the side of the box? This guy looks like he's wearing Snake Armor Skeletor's armor, but he's some sort of like snake ghost or snake god thing. Maybe we already know who this is and I'm just missing it, but I know that this artwork's awesome and I want an action figure. Alright, enough about the amazing box art. Let's go ahead and open the box up and get our Snake Mountain assembled. Now, of course, when you remove this thing from the box, you are going to get it in multiple pieces. And it'll look a little overwhelming at first, but trust me, it is really not that difficult to assemble. There's a sheet of instructions that will guide you through the process. Most of the things just kind of snap right on this, and then they're meant to stay there. Like, you'll never have to do it again once you put it together. There's no stickers to assemble. All of the stickers are already on this particular playset, and we've got more to talk about with those stickers a little later on in the video. Another thing that I found a little interesting while assembling this is the snake. Only because when this was first revealed by Mattel, they were talking about the ideas of having the snake being able to be positioned in different spots, but it looks like for the final one here, they settled on it only being in one place, because there's only one place that I can tell that this snake clips in, and as the instructions note, it's a one-time attachment. So once you put that snake on there, he's not meant to come back off. He clips in place real solid. So really shouldn't take you that long to get your Snake Mountain all put together. And when all is said and done, this right here is what we end up with. This is the Masters of the Universe Origins Snake Mountain playset. And I've got to say, it looks pretty great. It's pretty big too. It's a beefy playset. It stands about 26 inches tall if we go all the way from the base to the top of this peak, the mountain peak up here. A little bit shorter if you count the actual top of the mountain here, which is more around the 15-inch mark, but going all the way up to here, you're at 26 inches. And then with it opened up like this, you're around the 25, 26-inch mark. So it is a pretty large playset. It's bigger than the vintage one, which you guys will see later on in the video when we get to comparison time. Now, this right here is Snake Mountain as it appears all opened up. So this particular one, just like the vintage one, displays best like this, because you've got the bridge that kind of joins the two halves of the shell together, and it kind of gives you a complete mountain look. But I know a lot of you will probably want to see what this looks like closed up, so let me just show you that real quick. The bridge is removable from the front. It's a little different than the vintage one in the sense that it's one solid bridge this time. It doesn't come apart in the middle, and the way it attaches is, instead of like little pegs that poke into holes, you have these like slots right here that will clip into these little like kind of alcoves in here. And it's a bit hard, at least the first time, but the more I've kind of, done this, the easier it's gotten. So I don't know if that speaks to like it just kind of needing to be worked out a little bit, or if it's going to weaken. I'm not entirely sure. But when you pull that off, you can just close this up, very similar to like Castle Grayskull. And it even has the clips on the side that the Origins Castle Grayskull had. I also love the way they're themed, because they're purple, but they kind of look like vines, which is kind of neat. But those clip into place pretty nicely right there. And then you've got your Castle Grayskull closed up, and it actually displays pretty good both directions. On this side, it looks more like the mountain with the snake wrapping around. They added this like peak on here, which gives it more of that Filmation Snake Mountain vibe, I think, because it's got the, you know, the pointed peak. Super 7 did something very similar with their version. And then on the opposite side, that gives you like the demon face and the wolf head. So if you've got limited space and you need to display it closed up, it's going to be kind of hard to choose which way you want to display it. I think they both look good. I will say the snake sticks real far off the side over here, so that might be a problem if you're looking at shelf space there. But really, if you can display this thing opened up, I think that's the way to do it. I personally just think it displays much better this way. One thing I will say too is like trying to find space to put like this big solid bridge on the inside when you're closing it up poses to be a little bit of a challenge. So it's going to take a little bit of like Jenga work there to make that happen if you want to store it on the inside. But there we go, just like that. Now we've got it all put back together, and we're going to start by just talking about all the different features on the outside of the castle. Then we'll go inside of the castle. And I do want to talk first about like the overall sculpt of this thing, because I think it's really, really well done. Mattel did a great job of looking at that vintage play set and just kind of plussing it up a little bit like they've done for a lot of things for Origins. Like I mentioned already, they added kind of like this peak of this mountain up here, which even though it's just like a hollow shell, it looks nice from the outside, and it really does add more of that mountain-esque look to it. But we've also got like these crazy little demon faces all around, like carved into the rocks, the purple rocks of Snake Mountain. And that's something that I have always really liked about this playset. It's one of those ones where you can just look at it, find all these cool little faces and hidden details worked into the sculpt there. The quality is pretty decent. I will say that this feels pretty solid by modern playset standards. And I say that because if you've collected modern playsets and modern vehicles, a lot of the times they are made of a very soft plastic that has a lot of give to it. And this one doesn't really feel like that. Like, this feels pretty sturdy. I will say it still feels a little softer than the vintage one, but it doesn't feel as soft as some of the other modern playsets that I've had recently. I would definitely put this akin to the Castle Grayskull. If you've already got the Grayskull, I think you're getting about the same quality of a playset with this, which is really nice. Like I mentioned, that bridge right there, super sturdy. But let's talk about that bridge some more, because one of the things that's always been a bit of a nitpick about the vintage one is how small that bridge is. And I will say that we've got the same thing going on with this version of the bridge. Obviously, it's hard to see the figures walking normally across this bridge, because look at how he's like squeezing his legs between the rails there. You almost have to do that side shimmy thing still to get across this tiny bridge. And look how low the handrails are. I mean, it's really out of scale with the figures. You know what this reminds me of? It's sort of like that forced perspective thing that you see at Disney World, where the buildings look much bigger far away, but as you get closer, you realize that they're scaled down. Like, that's what this feels like to me. So, a bit weird. But that's like been an issue. I think like even the Super 7 bridge like felt a little on the small side. So unfortunately it's still like that. Still kind of a small little bridge, small little walkways, you know, right here. So yeah, I guess it is what it is. There are pegs, foot pegs across the bridge. You've got like 1, 2, 3, 4 of them on the bridge. You got 1, 2 on the steps. You've got 1 at top. So like at least there are some cool little areas like that where they do make it easy to stand the figures if you want to try to use this as a display thing. Like obviously you'll have to find some fun ways to make it like He-Man or Skeletor, whoever is like climbing up those stairs to get to the wolf head entrance at the top of Snake Mountain over here. On the opposite end, a classic feature of Snake Mountain are the shackles on the outside. Very similar to the vintage ones, although this time they're made of a pliable plastic, which is probably a good call. The vintage ones were very brittle, and they're known for breaking. And the way that these work is they don't actually have an opening in the shackle. You'll actually have to remove the figure's hands, slide it over their wrist, put their hands back in. That's the best way to get the shackles on. But otherwise, it's a feature that feels just like the vintage one, but probably made a little bit better, since there hopefully shouldn't be any breakage with these particular shackles. That demon face on the other side also, just like the vintage one, has the ability to have the mouth be opened and closed by using a lever on the inside. I am the voice of Snake Mountain. Which leads me to another thing to talk about. There's no microphone with this particular version, which was a feature of the original one, which is why the mouth did that, because the whole idea was that you were the voice or the spirit of Snake Mountain, and you moved the mouth while you were talking through the microphone. If you guys remember, on the original one, this wolf head up here was the microphone. On this one, it is just something that's on top of Snake Mountain. It's not a removable microphone. It is articulated. It turns left and right, and there's a bit more to that when we get to the inside of the castle. Okay, so let's talk about the snake, because the snake is quite a bit different on this particular version. On the vintage one, it was much smaller. They really souped up the snake this time around, but they also added some articulation to it, which is really interesting. Now, I will say, from the base of the snake all the way up to here, there's no articulation. At this point, we've got a swivel that allows the snake to move up and down, and then we can rotate the head at the neck. It's like ball jointed at the neck, so you can actually move the snake head all the way around here, and then you can open and close the mouth. Really interesting stuff, kind of giving life to the snake, but also interesting because it can't actually do any damage where it's at. Because this right here is all sculpted in a very specific manner, and there's no articulation, he can't actually bend down far enough to get any of the figures, and he can't even make it over to the base that's in front of the door over here. So it's cool that they added the articulation, but it almost feels unnecessary since he can't really do anything. If you guys remember the vintage one, the way it worked is like your hero would come up to this door up here, and then the snake could swivel across, sort of like trapping him or pushing him through the door or whatever. Regardless, the snake, what it did, the snake swiveled forward to come at your figure, to attack your hero. And this one can't make it. He-Man can stand right here and the snake can't get him. Come on, tough guy, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? I'm up here at the door. You can't stop me. So, I mean, it's really interesting. And while we're up here at the door, we got to talk about that as well. So this has got a trap door on the opposite side, just like the vintage one. And one of the things that I like is the way that they've got this door kind of like a mechanism worked into the door, so it actually stays closed. And you can swing it open forwards, and it latches open. See how it kind of clips in place? And you can also push it backwards and it stays open. That is a really nice design, only because the vintage one always just kind of flopped around like this quite a bit. So I like that it will actually lock in place and it will stay closed, or it will lock open and stay open. I don't know. It's little things like that that get me excited for some reason. I like that. I think that's cool. But of course your figure can then walk on the inside. You know, He-Man suddenly thinks, aha, I did it. I broke into Snake Mountain, only for you to hit this button back here. Ah! And it opens the trap door and they fall down. And there's more to that as well, which seems like a good time to work our way to the inside of the castle. Although I do want to talk about this real quick too. This little hole has always been like a part of Snake Mountain. It was on the vintage one, but I do like that they added this like vine foliage, and it's made of like this really soft rubbery plastic, so it kind of like covers the hole and changes it more into like a secret entrance or secret exit. I don't know. I think that's a nice touch. That's really cool. Let's move to the inside of the castle. All right, so we're gonna swing this around. We're going to fold down this cool little swampy pit right here, and we're going to start talking about all the features on the inside. And since we just left off with that trap door, we might as well start there. Because over here, you might notice this really cool dungeon cage. And this is really neat. They showed this off when they revealed it. This is a new feature that they added to this version of Snake Mountain. You can actually remove this cage just by kind of pulling it forward. It just slides out of these little slots in here. And then this cage can, in place, be moved over here under the trap door. So now, after He-Man or whatever hero breaks into Snake Mountain, you can press the button right up here, and he falls down into an actual cage, which is really cool. If you guys remember, or maybe if you never had it, the vintage one just had a net, like a big net that they would fall down into. And there was really nothing else on this side. The cage feels like such a great upgrade to this. Now, one thing I will say is before you remove the cage, you actually have to open this door and reach in here to like shut this trap door. Otherwise, it's going to be in the way. But once you've got your hero in here, you can actually remove the cage. You can move him back over here as if he's locked in a dungeon. And now you've got a hero in a cage. I don't know. I think that's a really fun feature. Totally something new and cool. And one of the things that has always been a bit of a complaint about the original Snake Mountain is that it felt so empty inside. You know, Grayskull had a lot of cool action features. Snake Mountain just had like a net and it was just totally empty. So they did some cool things here to add some new levels of play to this playset that I really appreciate. Down here, you saw me unfold this cool little pool or this little pit that's filled with like Swampy Waters. Now this is a really great reference to the sticker that was on the vintage Snake Mountain playset. It was just a sticker on this empty shell over here that had these little creatures drawn onto it. Well, this is another instance of the team at Mattel bringing those sticker creatures to life and making them kind of little action figures. They are just little rubber figures. They are modeled after the creatures on the vintage stickers, though there's no paint detail. I do wish we got a little bit of paint detail here, but we got this cool little purple dragon guy. We got this little orange frog-looking dude. Also, there's this little piece of purple stone, which has the same little peg hole on it, so you can actually put that on any of these spots if you want to as well. You'll notice that there are 4 little pegs sticking out of the ground. So you can mix and match these however you want to. You can make it look like the creatures are coming out of these pools anywhere you want to. But here's the other really fun thing about this. That is the same size peg as the torso on the action figures. So if you want to pretend that your hero fell into this little pool, you can remove the figure's legs and clip him onto that peg, and it looks like he is sitting down in that murky water. I love that. Or even cooler than that, we could pretend like this is how Merman gets into Snake Mountain. He swims up through the little lagoon here from under the water. Like, I don't know. I think this is such a fun feature. And while I wish those little creatures had a little more paint detail, I love that they did this. I think that is so fun. And again, just another way to kind of soup up this overall playset here. Really cool stuff. All right, so let's move it on over to the final side over here. We've got a few more things that I want to talk about. Importantly, Skeletor has a throne. The bone throne is included. It's a removable piece. Made of a bit of a pliable plastic, but this is really cool. Absolutely inspired by the bone throne of Filmation. Not quite the same, but inspired by it. But this is really nice because this is something else that the vintage playset was missing. A place for Skeletor to actually sit down. So there's a peg in the floor that plugs onto. Skeletor looks pretty great sitting on the throne. He does feel a little crammed in there, like that's some low ceilings and everything, but having a chair for your Skeletor, that's really great. I love that. I'm so glad that we finally got that included with a Snake Mountain playset. Now, let's remove this throne, because I want to talk about what's behind the throne. That sticker right there. On the original playset from the 80s, that sticker was covering the electronics for the microphone feature. So they just went ahead and just added a spot on the wall for the sticker. It was already put on here. But we got to talk about these stickers, specifically the artwork on these stickers. Because while these stickers are mimicking the art of the vintage figures, the vintage playsets, they are not as good. In fact, I would argue to say they're not that great at all. If you look real close at those, I don't know what's going on there. There was some discussion about this online that I saw where people were debating on if these were done by AI or if these were done by some sort of like fill-in feature in Photoshop. Clearly, these are inspired by those vintage stickers, or they took those vintage stickers and tried to like I don't know, make them HD, make them cleaner, but as a result, all the details are gone. They look really weird and just kind of, I don't know. I'm really disappointed in the stickers on this playset. And I'm showing you guys like comparisons with the vintage Snake Mountain so you can see what I'm talking about. Like those are actual like pieces of artwork, and these are some sort of weird, I don't know, computer generated things. I don't know what's going on. I just wanted to express my disappointment. Those stickers are not good compared to what we've had in this line. It's a bit of a bummer. Skeletor's Throne covers that one, so you don't really even have to look at it. But I don't know. I felt like it was worth mentioning. It's really strange to me. Moving on, we've got that wolf head that we looked at from the front. And as I mentioned earlier, on the original playset, this was the microphone. You would pull it out, you would talk into the top of the head. We'd get that real cool electronic echoey noise. This time it's just this articulated little head up here. I don't know if it's supposed to be like some sort of lookout thing or something, but this is the way the feature's supposed to work. On the wall over here, you'll see this big ugly spider. He's stuck to the wall. You can actually remove the little spider friend from the wall. He's like a rubbery spider. You can use him as like a villain for He-Man to fight if you want to, but he's got this extra hole right on the back. That is meant to plug in to the bottom here, and then the spider is supposed to turn into a lever to rotate that head back and forth, except it doesn't work. The spider is made of such a soft rubbery material that he doesn't grip the thing he's plugged into, and he just spins all the way around it. And I've tried to like push this up maybe further or whatever. Like if I remove him and I like use my fingers, I can tell that this is like what's supposed to turn this. But it doesn't work. Like you can plug the spider into it. If you'd rather the spider be here and just be like the handle for this, that's where he could be. It just doesn't work, which is really unfortunate. So I feel like most people are just going to opt to have him as a giant spider crawling on the wall over here. They should have stuck more pegs around so you could have put them in different spots too. But I don't know. Spider Pal is just a Spider Pal. He doesn't work as intended with this, which is a bit unfortunate. And then down here, I already showed you guys that we can plug in the jail cell there. There's another sticker on the base down there, but a few other things for the playset as well. We do also have a small little weapons rack that comes with these bright green weapons, much like our glow-in-the-dark Skeleton Warriors did. There's also a shield that clips on here, which on mine will not stay attached. Like, it just falls off so easy. Hey, it's staying on right now, so that's good. But I just kept having problems. Oh, look, there it goes. There it goes. Watch. Ah, it just falls right off. I don't understand. And then we do have a ladder, which the vintage one had as well. And this time they gave us little notches over here, which I should have showed you while we were on this side. But you can plug the ladder in, and it actually clips in place, and it falls down a lot too. Like, I kept having this problem with it, but it should just, like, sit in these little notches down here. There you go. All right. Okay, we'll see. We'll see if it stays. But that's where ladder goes. So there's a lot of weird things like that. Shield not staying on the weapons rack. Ladder doesn't stay in place all the time. Stickers are a little weird. Spider doesn't work with this. Like, I have a lot of weird nitpicky things. And maybe to you that is just nitpicky stuff. Because I will say, like, overall, I think this is a really nice playset. I think they did a pretty good job with this. I like the new features that they added to it. And I don't know, like, it's hard to say, like, if I like this better than the Origins version of Castle Grayskull, but I definitely think I like it better than the vintage Snake Mountain, because the vintage one just didn't have a lot to it. So, with that being said, we're talking about the vintage one. How about we do a little bit of comparison time? Here it is standing alongside that vintage Snake Mountain playset, so you can see what it looks like alongside. And as I mentioned, it is bigger than the vintage one. It sits quite a bit bigger, especially with that new mountain peak added to it. But this is where things get a little crazy, because now we have to compare it to the massive Super 7 Masters of the Universe Classic Snake Mountain, which is insanely huge. I always forget how big it is, even though this thing's on display in my room. Like, putting it up on the table for this, I was like, oh my god, why is it so big? It dwarfs the Origins one here, as you can see. And I didn't show this yet earlier, so we should talk about it now. Let's put it next to Origins Castle Grayskull. This is like super mega Castle Grayskull with Point Dread and everything on top of it. So that's obviously a little bit bigger. But when you remove that stuff, it's a bit shorter than Snake Mountain. But they look pretty good next to each other. So there you go, my friends. That is a look at the Masters of the Universe Origins Snake Mountain playset. Overall, I did have fun like shooting this video and messing with the features. And while there are a few nitpicks that I went over in this, overall, I do think this is a pretty nice playset. I'm happy to see them doing all of these vintage playsets and souping them up. And man, like Eternia is got to be the next one, right? Like that was the one we crowdfunded, so it's coming next year. So it's going to be really crazy to look at that giant playset when it comes out. But until then, Snake Mountain is out now. I don't know if it's getting an actual retail release, like sitting on store shelves, but you can get it online pretty easy. I ordered mine through BigBadToyStore.com. So happy hunting, my friends, and until next time.